In the months following the public emergence of COVID-19 in China, hundreds of millions of people in America and elsewhere frightfully watched the airborne virus emerge in more and more countries until it finally arrived on the shores of their own. In March 2020, this alert was issued to residents of Fort Worth, Texas, urging them to stay at home to limit the spread of coronavirus. The alert shown here, however, would not blare through the silence with terrifying disruption, as is often the case with other emergency broadcasts. Instead, the contemplative and slightly haunting Western music, the absence of the usual automated or human voice, and the fact that the message only appears on screen resurrects the sheer uncertainty, loneliness, and fear of that time. In terms of the total number of deaths, the pandemic that followed over the next few years became the single deadliest disaster in the history of the United States. As Hurricane Ida rapidly weakened after traveling over land, it was still sufficiently powerful to produce frightening natural disasters across a wide area. After passing through the southern United States, it soon caused a double emergency alert in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, one for a tornado and the other a flash flood. Within the span of just 1 hour, 3 EF1 tornadoes and 1 EF2 tornado were on the ground in and around Bucks County, Pennsylvania. The last tornado was the deciding factor in the decision to issue the tornado emergency that follows, which itself was soon followed by the flash flood alert. Undoubtedly, it must have been terrifying for people to hunker down in basements or interior rooms, not knowing if the floodwaters would overcome them as they took shelter from the twisters.
emergency for Bristol, Croydon, and Burlington. The National Weather Service in Mount Holly, New Jersey has issued a tornado warning for central Mercer County in central New Jersey, northwestern Burlington County in southern New Jersey, southeastern Bucks County in southeastern Pennsylvania, until 7:30 p.m. At 7:02 p.m., a confirmed large and destructive tornado was observed over Beverly, or 12 miles southwest of Trenton, moving northeast at 40 miles per hour. Tornado emergency for Bristol, Croydon, and Burlington. This is a zero particularly dangerous situation. Take cover now. Hazard, deadly tornado. Source, radar confirmed tornado. Impact, you are in a life-threatening situation. Flying debris may be deadly to those caught without shelter. Mobile homes will be destroyed. Considerable damage to homes, businesses, and vehicles is likely, and complete destruction is possible. Locations impacted include Trenton, Bensalem, Ewing, Willingboro, Florence, Burlington, Bristol, Bordentown, Pennington, Beverly, Yardley, Towertown, Lingmore, Washington Crossing, Windsor, Florence Roebling, Woodside, Edinburgh, Whitehorse, and Andalusia. This includes the following highways: New Jersey Turnpike between exit 6 and 6A. Pennsylvania Turnpike between mile markers 353 and 359. Interstate 95 in Pennsylvania between mile markers 34 and 40. Interstate 195 in New Jersey between mile markers 0 and 5. Interstate 295 in New Jersey between mile markers 57 and 76. To repeat, a large, extremely dangerous, and potentially deadly tornado has been confirmed. To protect your life, take cover now. Move to an interior room on the lowest floor of a sturdy building. Avoid windows. If in a mobile home, a vehicle, or outdoors, move to the closest substantial shelter and protect yourself from flying debris. Heavy rainfall may... Flash flood emergency for a large portion of Bucks County. The National Weather Service in Mount Holly has issued a flash flood warning for Bucks County in southeastern Pennsylvania until midnight. At 7:05 p.m., emergency management reported thunderstorms producing heavy rain across the warned area. Between 3 and 7 inches of rain have fallen. Widespread flash flooding is occurring. This is a flash flood emergency for a large portion of Bucks County. This is a particularly dangerous situation. Seek higher ground now. Hazard, life-threatening flash flooding caused by thunderstorms. Source, emergency management reported. Impact, this is a particularly dangerous situation. Seek higher ground now. Life-threatening flash flooding of low water crossings, small creeks and streams, urban areas, highways, streets, and underpasses. Some locations that may experience flash flooding include Bensalem, Quakertown, Percy, Doylestown, Bedminster, Chalfont, Tinicum, Newtown, Dublin, Lingmore, and Iveland. This includes the following highways: Pennsylvania Turnpike between mile markers 347 and 355. Interstate 95 in Pennsylvania between mile markers 36 and 37. Northeast Extension between mile markers 39 and 44. Move to higher ground now. This is an extremely dangerous and life-threatening situation. Do not attempt to travel unless you are fleeing an area subject to flooding or under an evacuation order. Turn around. Don't drown when encountering flooded roads. Most flood deaths occur in vehicles.
This was the first tornado emergency ever broadcast in the Northeast United States, and sadly, it would not pass without casualties. 3 people were injured by the confluence of tornadoes, and in Upper Dublin, Pennsylvania, 1 woman was killed when the most powerful of them toppled a tree straight through her house. However, the flash flooding in the region would be responsible for the majority of deaths by the dozens, along with many more rescue attempts, as some areas received floodwaters of 6 to 8 feet in height. For some reason, this Amber Alert was issued a full 10 days after the child in question was abducted. Carlos Hernandez, a 10-year-old boy in Albuquerque, New Mexico, was kidnapped by his mother, Angelique Sanchez. Sanchez had a long criminal record going back more than a decade, which included battery of a police officer, drug trafficking, as well as other offenses, and her violent, aggressive, and defiant personality fed into the events surrounding the alert. The message itself details some of the lengths she was willing to go to not only forcibly maintain custody of her son, but to escape from the pursuit of the law, including ramming a police car and driving dangerously on major roadways.
Albuquerque, New Mexico. The following is information for distributing an Amber Alert from the New Mexico State Police. The New Mexico State Police is asking for public assistance in locating Carlos Hernandez, a 10-year-old male who was last seen at around 1 p.m. on April 22, 2024, at 1041 Lamberton Place Northeast in Albuquerque. Carlos was abducted by his non-custodial mother Angelique Sanchez, 39. They are traveling in a white Hyundai Sonata with a New Mexico license plate of BDJZ56. Carlos is 45 tall, 60 pounds, with brown eyes and brown hair. Angelique is 53 tall, 150 pounds with brown eyes and brown hair. Carlos was previously reported missing to APD on April 12, 2024. He was spotted with Angelique on April 22, 2024, at around 12:30 p.m. at New Mexico Human Services located at 1041 Lamberton Place Northeast. New Mexico State Police was contacted and responded to the area to make contact with Angelique and Carlos. As officers attempted to contact Angelique, she fled the area in the Sonata with Carlos inside the vehicle. Angelique rammed into a state police patrol vehicle while fleeing the scene and was last seen driving the wrong way on Menal. New Mexico State Police did not initiate a pursuit because Carlos was in the car. Many details are still unknown and under investigation. However, of urgent concern is the whereabouts of Carlos Hernandez. Anyone with any information regarding this New Mexico Amber Alert is asked to call the New Mexico State Police at 505-841-9256 or dial 911.
The car in which Sanchez fled with Carlos was later found abandoned. In addition, the attempt to recover the missing child was delayed when Sanchez allegedly planted a false trail for police by telling a school counselor she was heading to a shelter, only for police to find out she was not there. Ultimately, she stayed ahead of police for 12 days before she and Carlos were located on foot, walking around a nearby neighborhood. Carlos was recovered unhurt, and Sanchez was arrested. She was eventually charged with custodial interference, aggravated assault of a peace officer, aggravated fleeing from a peace officer, child abuse, and several other offenses. Developments and discoveries are still ongoing in the case. This emergency alert was issued for Sarasota County in southwestern Florida shortly before Hurricane Milton arrived in October 2024. It was the area's second storm surge warning in as many months, following on the heels of Hurricane Helene, which had devastated the area less than a month prior. However, when Milton struck the county, the height of the floodwaters was even greater than those of Helene, reaching 8 to 10 feet above sea level, higher than most vehicles and nearly all standing adults. Sarasota County, home to almost 500,000 people, also had the highest reported flood levels of any county in Milton's path.
The National Weather Service in Tampa Bay area, Florida, TBW, has issued a storm surge warning for the following counties or areas: Sarasota County, Florida, beginning at 5:07 p.m. October 8th and ending at 1:15 a.m. October 9th. NWS. Life-threatening storm surge danger. Follow the instructions of local officials. National Weather Service. A storm surge warning is in effect for this area for the danger of life-threatening flooding. This warning is issued up to 36 hours before hazardous conditions begin. Urgently complete efforts to protect life and property. Follow evacuation orders if given for this area to avoid drowning or being cut off from emergency services.